Good morning, Glenn Kirschner.
Good morning, Stephanie.
So now, I know a lot of our legal lads and ladies, even Mimi Roca, was like, I can't believe what I'm writing, but it appears that as someone that I'm sure like you prosecuted the mob, that this appears to be a mob hit that was being discussed against the United States ambassador. Am I reading this wrong? All this evidence that we're just seeing come out yesterday?
You know, that seems like the strongest interpretation of all of what we just learned from Lev Parnas's materials that were turned over to Congress. And not just turned over to Congress, but before they were turned over to Congress, they were withheld from Congress by Bill Barr, who is overseeing the prosecution of Parnas and Fruman in New York. That, you know, just when you think Barr can't get any more crooked, he surprises us.
Well, this is the other thing that I guess a lot of people reading this, Glenn, are like, why isn't Rudy Giuliani been arrested? And you go, oh, because obviously Barr. Like, what's happening at SDNY, do you think?
So I've been saying all along, after Parnas and Fruman got locked up, that the only thing that will prevent the arrest of Rudy Giuliani is Bill Barr. It's not the evidence, because, you know, these men were in a conspiracy, and if I have time in a few minutes, I'll give you a 30-second closing argument on why the evidence now proves that Lev Parnas and the President of the United States are in a criminal conspiracy together.
Oh, yes, please. You can take more than 30. Go ahead.
All right, let me try to do it in 45, because as I was going through the materials last night, here's what we know, and this is how I would argue it to a jury. I would say, you know, Lev is indicted with crimes, including funneling money to the Trump campaign. Lev is a close associate of Trump's TV lawyer, Rudy Giuliani. Lev told a judge after he got locked up that he might have privilege issues to assert because of his work with Rudy Giuliani as part of Trump's defense team. And Lev has the same goals as Trump has, which is, among other things, getting rid of Ambassador Yovanovitch. Remember, Trump said that lady's going to go through some stuff. And his other major goal, we now know from Lev's own handwritten notes, was to get Zelensky to announce a bogus investigation into the Bidens. And the only thing we know from Trump when he's questioned about Lev Parnas, what does he say? I didn't know that guy. That's what co-conspirators say when their partner in crime gets caught. This is evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that Lev Parnas and the President of the United States are in a criminal conspiracy together.
So Trump obviously approved legal counsel for Parnas and Fruman just days before denying he knew them to reporters. Glenn, I'm not a prosecutor. This seems fairly damning from Jay Sekulow. John, I've discussed the issue of representation with the president. The president consents to allowing your representation of Mr. Parnas and Mr. Fruman. Jay Sekulow, counsel to the president. Is that what would be known as inculpatory evidence? I'm just guessing.
Yeah. He would not have, Sekulow wouldn't have made that representation if the president hadn't told him to make that representation. That's not the way representing a client works, which is, you know, the 18,000th lie the president has told. But when you keep lying about your own criminal culpability and your own associations with other co-conspirators, how in the world can anyone continue to support and enable and defend this president?
Well, yes. You always make me hopeful, because you talked about Lev Parnas' lawyer trolling Trump. You said Trump's walls will come tumbling down. Justice is coming. And again, this makes Nancy Pelosi look smarter by the day. Obviously, you know, we are now at a point where they don't have the votes to dismiss, right? More and more evidence has come out by the day. They now have enough votes to have a real trial and have witnesses, right?
They do. And I expect we're going to see witnesses. I think it becomes more inevitable by the day. And here's what I'm hoping. One message I'd love to deliver to people who keep saying on TV, look, it just takes 51 senators to overturn any ruling of Chief Justice Roberts. Let me tell you how damaging that message is to be putting in the public stream. If the House managers, which I'd love to talk about in a minute because they were just named by Speaker Pelosi, and it did give me patriotic goosebumps looking at who she tapped. Mm-hmm. But if Chief Justice Roberts is asked by one of the prosecutors, one of the managers, to have produced for testimony, let's say, John Bolton, and applying the rules of evidence and the rules of law, Chief Justice Roberts says, I grant that motion because this man has relevant evidence to this trial. And 51 senators just vote to run roughshod and overrule Chief Justice Roberts. There is no normal sentence that 51 senators can just overrule him. That, Steph, would be like me saying, well, you know what? If my neighbor keeps playing his music too loud, I'll just kill his dog. Or if the bank won't give me the auto loan rate that I'm looking for when I'm applying for this loan, I'll just rob the bank. Those sentences don't make sense. Just like the sentence, 51 senators can just overrule anything Chief Justice Roberts does. That sentence doesn't make sense, and we cannot normalize it.
Well, you tweeted, Republicans in the Trump administration ready to fall in line with his rigged trial, but McConnell thinks he's going to drag down with him the reputation of Chief Justice Roberts and, by extension, the legitimacy of the entire U.S. Supreme Court. McConnell may have another thing coming. Boy, it feels like justice is hanging by a thread some days, doesn't it?
It feels like it's hanging by a thread, but I swear to God, I feel like it's getting closer and more certain every day because of this president's recklessness, because of this blockbuster information that just came out from Parnes. And I believe more today than I did last time I talked to you that the walls will come tumbling down and that justice will come because, there comes a point in time when even the worst senator on the face of the planet, and I'll let you all fill in the blank with your favorite, will not be able to support this criminal president.
Yeah. Well, and I've always said this, is that, don't think that Mitch McConnell is any less interested in his own self-interest than Trump is. And so if Trump is going to drag him and the whole Republican Party down, listen, there's no honor among thieves. Let's listen to McConnell yesterday real quick.
Well, if you look at the House product.
No, three. Yeah, hang on one second. Leader McConnell yesterday.
We'll be dealing with the witness issue at the appropriate time into the trial. And I think it's certainly appropriate to point out that both sides would want to call witnesses that they wanted to hear from. So when you get to that issue, I can't imagine that only the witnesses that our Democratic colleagues would want to call would be called.
This is trying to smother the justice system now in this both sides do it nonsense, right? I mean, and you could explain as a prosecutor, Glenn, the difference between calling John Bolton and Hunter Biden in terms of what a relevant witness is, correct?
Sure. McConnell is this, false equivalency jamboree, and anybody with half a brain is not going to fall for it because it makes absolutely no sense in the context of a criminal trial, a civil trial, or an impeachment trial to say, well, listen, if the relevant witnesses are allowed to testify, then the irrelevant witnesses must be allowed to testify. That's not the way any of this works. But I actually take and you know what? Chief Justice Roberts will rule in the first instance. No. You're not going to call Hunter Biden and you're not going to call up because they're irrelevant. And then we go back to if 51 senators overrule Chief Justice Roberts, that will be a cover-up. Plain and simple, a cover-up. It won't be doing equal justice. It will be covering up Trump's crimes. So, but I actually heard McConnell's comments, and the first thing I thought of was what we just discussed. But the second is he now knows that witnesses are inevitable, so he's trying to get in front of it. Yeah. That's why I say these are steps forward. These are not steps back, and I think they're going to lead us to a good place.
Yeah, I that's what I feel too. Well, and we are in this extraordinary nexus now, Glenn, of not just Trump going to get Ukraine to do his dirty work politically on Biden, which he's in the midst of being impeached for. We have Russia trying to do his dirty work on Burisma in the open, and they want us to know that they're doing it. And then all this. Go, and then there's all this new information. I mean, it really is extraordinary. I mean, Nancy Pelosi just said the alarming reports that the Russian government is continuing to interfere in our elections to benefit the president, to undermine our democracy, highlight the urgent need for action. Yet the president has refused to take meaningful action to strengthen our election security. Obviously, Mitch McConnell has not taken up any bills. She accused him of giving hostile foreign powers the green light to attack our country. The president, every Republican senator must explain to the American people why they're refusing to defend our national security and the integrity of our elections. It is just like this perfect storm all coming together at the same time, isn't it?
It is. And you know, why would Russia stop? I mean, the president encouraged them in the first instance. I mean, I point back to the most basic statement the president ever made, because when he tries to peddle to us now that, well, I don't think it would be Russia. Why would it be Russia? Putin denied it. Dude, you're the one who stood up and said, Russia, if you're listening, get me the dang emails. You're the ones who encouraged and inspired and commissioned Russian interference. So why would Russia stop? They're going to double down. They're going to triple down. They got Trump in their back pocket. They got McConnell in their back pocket. They sure seem to have Lindsey Graham in their back pocket. They're going to keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. But I think McConnell may feel this, not just the presidency slipping away, because this is the end of the Trump presidency this year, period.
Yeah.
But I think he may also feel the Senate slipping away. And, boy, he will throw Trump under the bus in a minute.
I've always said that, yep.
Potential to save his majority in the Senate. I don't think there is a potential. I think the midterm blue wave was nothing compared to what we have coming in November.
I agree. Let me get your take on one last one. Norm Ornstein tweeted, would anyone be surprised if there was a phone call between Trump and Putin where Trump asked that Burisma be hacked? I mean, what are our chances legally of getting what's on this secret server? He's obvious, and we still don't even have the actual Ukraine call. They obviously even tried to, as incriminating as it is, they tried to scrub stuff out of that and redact stuff, right?
Yeah, I think under the Trump administration, I think there's a 50-50 chance we pry this stuff out of the secret server. Once the Dems take over, then I think everything is going to come out. And I think anybody who continued to support and enable Trump, particularly the elected politicians and the appointed politicians, they will all be part of the Trump Crimes Commission come January 2021, and they will all be looking at criminal charges.
Well, right, and that's why I felt Republicans getting a little queasy last night, didn't you, based on this, all this latest evidence? It's like, be very careful, because more and more is coming out, and you know what, if you're drawing a line in the sand, you're going to be on the wrong side of it, right?
Yeah, the tide continues to turn, and I think all of these recent developments are just turning into a great big snowball, and they're about to roll over Trump.
Yeah. Oh, you make me so happy. I will admit that when Travis texted me that you were booked yesterday, I did text back the emoji with the eyes as hearts, the double hearts for eyes.
I love it.
I love it. I did. All right. All right, Blue Eyes. Thank you. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dan.
There he goes. Bye, Glenn Kirschner.
Man,